Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Learning Station. I hope all of you are fine. The tongue twister that I shared today is red lorry, yellow lorry. Okay, let's go. Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, oh, red lorry. I think I should start reading. So, what we have read until now was that Peter, Jane, and their parents had come to Mr. White's house and he took him on the visit to the garden where they saw his fruit laden trees and the rabbit run and his birds, and they had gone for the tea by the end of our video. Now we'll start reading onwards. They all have seats by the windows where they can look down on the garden. The children have ice creams and the others have tea to drink. It's like a cafe up here, says Peter. Mr. White says, I like nothing better than to sit here after dinner in good weather. I come out here every day when the sun is out. I can see a lot from here. There is a black and red butterfly by the flowers on the table. Peter and Jane both watch it fly about. Then it goes away. Let it fly away, says Mother. It's happy in the sun. Mr. White and Mother and Father want to talk for some time, so Mr. White asks the children if they would like to go and play in the garden. You could play hide and seek or some other game, he says. Peter and Jane want to look round the garden again. There's so much to do here, says Jane. Yes, says Peter. Let's go and look at those fish again. So, as shown in the picture, that all of them are taking tea, and meanwhile, Mr. White tells that I enjoy sitting here in good weather. Then they see a butterfly going here and there, and Mother tells them that let it fly away. Later on, Mr. White, Mother, and Father want to talk about something, so they tell their children that they can go play some game so that the elders can talk. Peter and Jane have found some balls in a box. I know the game to play with these, says Peter. People play it in the park. Yes, says Jane. I know children play this game in the park. I saw them once. Let's play it now. We can learn how to do it. They look up at Mr. White and ask him if they can use the balls for a game. Yes, says Mr. White. Go on, have some fun. We can watch you play from here. The children take some balls out of the box to play the game. Peter hits his ball, then Jane hits hers. At first, they are not very good at it, and one of the balls is lost by some logs. They find it and then go on with the game. They get better at it as they play. So, Peter and Jane have found some balls in a box and they want to play, but first they ask Mr. White for the permission, and when he allows them, the children take the balls out of the box and start playing. I like this, says Peter, but not as much as cricket. Some people say cricket is a slow game, but I don't think it's slow. In the picture, it is shown that Peter and Jane are enjoying playing with the balls, and Peter says that he likes this game but not as much as cricket. Moving on, Mr. White went away last week. Peter and his father are at work in the garden. There has been some bad weather and it has made a lot of work in the garden. Mr. White went away last week. Peter and his father are at work in the garden. There has been some bad weather and it has made a lot of work in the garden. Peter is under a tree as he picks up some apples. Not many apples have come down from the tree. Peter picks them up and puts them in a box. He can see his father at work. A little apple falls from the tree and hits Peter on the head. He looks up and sees the cat in the tree. He calls the cat down and takes it to the house to give it something to eat. He talks to the cat. "This is your dinner," he says. "That's right, eat it up." The cat eats its dinner and then has a drink. So Mr. White has gone and the weather has been bad, so there was a lot of work to do on his garden. Peter and his father are working on the garden and Peter picks apples and collects them in a box. Meanwhile, he finds a cat which he gives dinner and some drink. Peter goes back to get the box of apples. He takes it to an old stable at the end of the garden. Mr. White keeps his car in the old stable when he is at home. The car is not in the stable now. Peter goes back to get the box of apples and he takes it to the old stable where Mr. White used to um, keep his car. Peter and Jane are in the old stable. There is a room over the stable and Peter wants to get into it. "I know how to get into that room," he says. "Come on, Jane, let's have a look round up there. It'll be fun." The two children get into the room. Jane opens a window so that they can see. There is a big black box in the room. "What can be in there?" asks Peter. "I wish we could open the box and see what's in it." He goes over to the box and has a look at it. "We can open it, Jane," he says. "Help me to look in here." Peter and Jane both went into a room over the table, and there they find a big black box which they try to open. They find a tent, some old pictures, a top, hat, and a cricket bat and cap. Peter takes out the cricket bat and the cricket cap. Jane looks at the pictures. "Here is one of an old queen," she says. "It's our queen's grandmother." Peter takes out the top hat and puts it on. Look, Jane, he says. As shown in the picture, that they have found a picture of a queen and a hat, a cap, and a cricket bat. Peter and Jane have fun dressing up in the room over the stable. Many children like dressing up. Then they go into the house. They want to see Mr. White's books. He said, "We must see the books," says Peter. "I know where they are," says Jane. "I know which room they are in." They find the books in a sunny room at the top of the house. "What a lot there are," says Peter. "Mr. White must have a lot of money to buy all these." "Some may have been presents," says Jane. "Many people give books for presents." They sit down in two chairs to look at some of the books. Jane has a book about butterflies. "Look at this beautiful butterfly on this log," she says to Peter. "It's yellow and black." Peter has a book about fish. "There are some fish here like those Mr. White has," he says. "I could learn a lot about fish from these pictures." The children find books about horses, motor cars, birds, and flowers. So Peter and Jane had fun dressing up in the room over the stable. Then they go into the house. They wanted to see Mr. White's books and they found a lot of them. They were amazed by looking at the different books and they found books related to horses, motor cars, birds, flowers, butterflies, and whatnot. The children tell their father about Mr. White's books. Peter says he saw a very old book with Punch and Judy in it. "I didn't know they had Punch and Judy in those days," says Jane. "Yes," says father, "Punch and Judy are very old. I saw them when I was a boy, and so did your grandfather." So Peter and Jane came back to their father as shown in the picture and they tell him about the books of Mr. White and that they found Punch and Judy in the books as well. "Have you left the books just as you found them?" asks father. "Yes," says Jane. "We put all the books back again." As they talk, the two children help their father to work in the garden. He tells them he wants to make a fire and looks round for a place for it. "It must be away from the birds and the trees and rabbits," he says. Then they find a good place for a fire. Peter likes to make a fire. He brings some wood for his father to put on it. Jane says, "Mum saw Pam's mother the other day. She says our friend Jack wants to come to the farm for a holiday." So the father asks them if they have put the books back as Mr. White had left them. Then he tells both Peter and Jane that he wants to make a fire and they help him make a fire at a safe place. In the end, Jane tells that Mum saw Pam's mother and she tells that our friend Jack wants to come to the farm for a holiday. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. But my question from today's video are, what game did Peter and Jane play when the elders were talking? My question number 2 is, what did Peter collect in the box as shown in this picture? And my question number 3 is, what did Jane find from the big black box in the room over this table?